But Jesse and I are getting to the point where, like, I don't want to paddle. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Average Ontario... Oh, I'm doing it wrong. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Fishing Loons podcast, brought to you by Average Ontario Anglers. And we have a special thing for you today, because not only is it us as Average Ontario Anglers, we've got two other Average Ontario guys right here with us recording this week. We actually have the Average Joe Fishing Show. We have Brendan and Lyle with us. How are you doing, guys?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing?
We're doing perfectly fine. And better now that we have, some cool guests. Hopefully, better than average than we are.
No, we're pretty average.
Perfect. Right in our wheelhouse. So before we get started into our main topic of kind of interviewing them, we're going to have, as tradition normally states in our podcast, we have an interesting fishing fact, which Jesse has promised me that it is not only interesting, but also will blow Lyle's mind. Not so much Brendan's, but Lyle specifically. It's going to blow us.
I did not promise that. Anyway, I thought we could do a little thing about a comeback story. Because remember last year we had a podcast where me and Andrew were canoe fishing for muskie, and we did a live podcast on the water. And one of the main events of that day, not only did we catch a few muskie, but we did see a magnificent bird. We saw a pair of bald eagles. Remember that, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew loves bald eagles. I like seeing them. Andrew loves seeing them. But it got me thinking, it seems like the last few years, I've seen more bald eagles than I had in the decades before that. And there's obviously a reason for that. So I saw an article about the comeback of the bald eagle in southern Ontario. But before we start this, just because I know the Average Joe's Fishing Show is a bit more north of us, do you guys see bald eagles a lot up there?
I agree with what you said. When I was a kid, didn't see them. It was a rarity to see them. Now we have one living. It's been here for a few years near the lake, and you see a lot more now for sure.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that, right? They're having a big comeback right now. So in Southern Ontario wildlife, for a long time, the bald eagles were almost gone, like almost extinct in the area. And there was one time when, like you said, if you saw one, it would be like just like a rare thing. You're like, oh my goodness, I saw a bald eagle, and no one would believe you. And you're like, I promise it was a bald eagle. It wasn't a seagull, right? But now you just see them all the time. And I remember me and Andrew, like you saw one down in the Toronto Harbor, the Toronto Islands area. We've seen them in the Kawartha Lakes. Like they're all over the place now.
I've seen them multiple times when driving around, even just here in Durham, like Oshawa, Ajax area. I've seen them.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So why does this matter? Well, bald eagles sit on top of the food chain. So when they're doing well, it's a good, solid sign that the ecosystem is also doing well. The interesting part about this is, first of all, to start off, if you've never seen a bald eagle, maybe you've seen pictures of them, but if you've never seen one in real life, they're one of the largest birds of prey in North America. They stand about 2.5 to 3 feet tall with a wingspan of about 6.5 feet, which is roughly the height of Andrew, if his hair stood up on the top of his head, which he doesn't have any, so a little taller than Andrew.
If I comb my beard up, it's as tall as that.
So basically what happened was in the 20th century, bald eagle numbers, they dropped really fast. And what was the main reason for that? Well, there's lots of reasons, lots of pollution, stuff like that. But one of the main culprits was this pesticide that we were using called DDT, that basically it got sprayed into fields and other things, and it basically worked up the food chain. So what happened is when this DDT is inside of the eagles, because they'd eat the fish that had it inside of them, it caused their eggshells when they laid eggs to become so thin that they would oftentimes crack before the chicks were ready to hatch, and the chicks would die. Obviously, that there was not a good growth for a good population. Also, we have a lot of things like habitat loss, human disturbances, basically a lot of things that weren't in good favor for the bald eagle. Here's what happened. Humans actually did something good for once. They actually tried to fix this problem. So people stepped in and DDT was banned, not just to help the eagles, but a lot of other wildlife. Pollution also started to drop in the 1990s, and habitat protection became a priority. So we always see these things of like all these like ecologists and stuff going out and they're like doing studies on animals, and you're like, well, what good does it actually do? Does it actually help? Well, in the case of the bald eagle, it actually helped. In 1983, a bunch of baby eagles were brought from northwestern Ontario to help restart the population in the south. And researchers, they tracked them, monitored them, and basically kept a close eye on everything to make sure that everything was improving. And the eagles also tend to return to the same nesting spots if the conditions were good. So they started noticing that the eagles were starting to come back to areas that they used to nest in the past. By the 2000s, back when Andrew was about 7 years old, things were clearly improving for these eagles. We mentioned too that we have seen bald eagles in like the Toronto area, which is pretty crazy. Like I know sometimes you've seen like stuff where there's like peregrine falcons and stuff that live in like New York City, but there are bald eagles that live in Toronto, and obviously they're not like soaring through the skyscrapers. There's lots of like areas where, around like, Tommy Thompson Park or like the waterfront where they live. But in 2024, Toronto recorded its first known nesting pair of eagles right in Toronto. So that's pretty cool. So why does this matter? It is a good sign because, as we mentioned before, bald eagles are what's called an indicator species. So it's basically a nature's way of saying, things are good in the area. So seeing eagles in the area is a good sign, Andrew. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, have seen, I'd say in the last 5 years, we have seen way more eagles than I've ever seen in my whole life. And every time we see one, we used to get all giddy. Now I still get giddy, but I'm like, it's more of like a little less giddy because we see them more regularly. But anyway, if you guys see a bald eagle, make sure to give them a props. Props to the sky. Be like, good going, you thick-shelled, amazing creature.
Yeah, that is true because I think we mentioned before, last year I saw as many eagles in the wild as I probably saw in my entire life beforehand.
Right.
Just in like one fishing season. Like I saw a bunch last year, so which is fantastic. Now, when we talk about eagles, what do you think of? How good they are at catching fish. And that's why we have Brendan and Lyle here with the podcast today. Because when you watch their videos, what are they doing? Catching a lot of fish. So welcome again.
That's just what you see.
You cut out all the scenes of you snagging logs and stuff. That's what we do too. It's
that's
fine.
right.
I was actually watching the backcountry Algonquin going for brookies. I think it was Lyle was unhooking a trout and talking about it. In the background, you see Brendan just like trying to get out a snag. I'm like, that's so good. It's like, he stopped reeling in to net the fish for him. What a good net man. So let's get into a bit about yourselves then. When did you kind of both you can answer separately, but when did you get into backcountry trout fishing?
Well, you go first, Brendan. You've got more experience than I do.
All right. Well, I was pretty fortunate. I grew up just outside of Algonquin on the kind of the eastern side. From the back of our property is all crown land till the park. So from a young age, I went in with my dad and my older brother and uncles and stuff and kind of got into it then. And then when it really the buck bit me was in high school. I got a job as an interior ranger out of the east gate of Algonquin on Highway 60. That job made me fall in love with it, going back into the bush for a week at a time, flying in with a float plane and getting to fish all evening after work for trout. Just a great experience. I was with a lot of older lads too from the area that, they grew up with my dad and they have that original style of fishing that's almost lost. So yeah, that was my kind of real big experience with it growing up until Lyle and I met. What about you, Lyle?
Yeah, so the backcountry stuff, I guess, would be probably around the same time with Brendan had there, about high school time frame. I started fishing Frontenac Park and I actually worked there for a summer. And then they got a few stock trout lakes in there and a couple natural lake trout lakes. So I did that for 3 or 4 years. And the eye of the prize was always Algonquin. So when I met Brendan in college, it was like, man, I don't care what I got to do. This guy's got to take me fishing. And it just fell into place from there. And we've been fishing the park since probably 2017 or 2018.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember going to Algonquin like all the time growing up. It was either to the cottage or to Algonquin with my dad's boat doing interior camping. So I have a big love of the park myself as well. It was always like an annual tradition kind of thing to go for us. So what was your first trip? How did that, like your first trip together, how did that go? Was it, one of those glorious camping trips, or was it, this was terrible, never doing it again, and then by the time you got home, you're like, so when are we going next?
I think it was like just a classic Algonquin trip, right? Where you go in and the first day, like the weather is perfect, and you're catching, the odd fish. It's not like extraordinary, but it's like, fish are biting. And then We had a good time that night and then get up the next day and the wind is blowing, freezing cold, miserable, fish aren't biting. But then that afternoon they turned on again and we did quite well that day. And that was kind of the icing on the cake for me because that just put Algonquin to its top tier,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew first took me to Algonquin too. So it's both of your guys' fault. I was going to say, if you look up on YouTube, because oftentimes when I'm looking to do a fishing trip, I'll look up on YouTube like a video on the area just so I can kind of get an idea of what's going on or what gear to bring and stuff like that. If you look up Algonquin trout fishing, your guys' videos are like all up at the top. These guys make a legit video. And just to point out, in case you're wondering, the Average Joe's Fishing shows, you guys have like you're coming up on or about 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is absolutely fantastic. Congratulations on that. 1.3 million views. So like that's a lot of information like people are looking at to see how they can catch lake trout and brook trout and other stuff. And you guys have like over 300 videos on YouTube, like including shorts and stuff. Make sure, I'm going to link everything down below. Make sure you check it out. Watch the videos 100%. I know you're going to get the itch to be like, man, I got to go to Algonquin Park and go brook trout fishing. That's something I've never done. So I actually want to do that. Andrew, we have to do it.
I agree. But Jesse and I are getting to the point where like, I don't want to paddle.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I hate paddling.
So what was the thing that really made you want to go back? And I'm getting the vibe, I kind of know the answer to this question before asking, but was it the fishing or was it the camping, kind of the adventure of it that made you want to keep going back to Algonquin?
For me personally, it's kind of a mixed answer, I guess. The ultimate end goal is a big, beautiful, natural brook trout on the end of your line hitting the net, in that moment. But the majority of the memories, I think, are made on the adventure. And that's where all the laughs and all of the funny stories of Lyle slipping and tripping over a rock and having a canoe land on his head, and, like stuff like that. That's all in the adventures. So it's a bit of both, and just being able to disconnect and get away from just regular life, and do something simple.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Lyle?
Brook trout make you go into places that are, you mentioned earlier about the bald eagle being an indicator species, right? And brook trout are much of the same. And they make you go to these places that are just like pristine. Like the water's clear, well oxygenated, clear water. Sometimes you're high on a mountain or kind of in a valley somewhere where there's like eskers going through and different things. Makes you work hard and travel there. And the reward is always the brook trout, but getting there is an adventure. And I think that's all part of it.
I have to agree. That was well said by both your parts. But the point that Brendan made was, again, the best stories come from the adventure side of it. Because let's be honest, how many times do we actually come back with our goal fish that we were going for?
Exactly.
Beating our PB. We only do that so many times. But there's always a story to come from the adventure.
Some good, some bad.
Yeah. When it's in my case, it seems to be mostly bad.
You're like me.
Well, hopefully we can have better trips this year. And part of that's going to come from, I'm sure you'll agree, planning. If you can plan for a trip properly, you're going to enjoy it more, regardless of kind of what happens. So I know you already have some videos and stuff online going into how you guys plan and prep for, a backcountry trip and stuff like that. But if you had to kind of boil it down to some big things, we'll start the process here on the podcast. How do you pick your lakes or your timing? Like, how do you decide when and where to go in the park? Because a park, for people who don't know, Algonquin Park is massive. Like, it's huge. You could technically go across it in portage, and it would take you days and days and days and straight travel to try and do it. It's a huge park. It's not just like, we're on one half of a lake and we're done. Like, this is a big area.
7,600 square kilometers. It's bigger than PEI.
If anyone's going to know it, I figured Brendan would pull that out.
Bigger than PEI. Wow, that's amazing.
So how do you start your process then of picking where and when you're going to be going?
Well, for me, this starts like probably 11 months in advance. So when we come out of our May trip like this year, we will be discussing May of next year. For us right now, we're in our exploratory phase. We're not really going back so much. Like we will, right, to certain areas that are really, really good. But most of our trips are all new. Like we want to see every inch of the park. So we come out and we kind of assess what happened, what we've seen, and we try to put the piece of the puzzle into every single trip that's coming up ahead of us. Through talking with people, right? And when you're in the park, people seem to like give out a little bit of information, a little bit more than they would online, right? Because you're there with them. They're like, oh yeah, that lake over there was good. Okay, well, write that down. Got to come back, check it out. But over probably 7 or 8 years now, I think we kind of have a good handle on what it is that we're looking for. And it's not necessarily putting 2, 3, or 4 days of the canoe on your back and portaging in that's going to get you fish. It's just knowing where. The key indicators of which lakes are going to produce good fish.
I think that's the intimidating thing, though, because there's probably like 3,000 lakes in there.
There's like 1,500 lakes, and I think probably 300, I would say, ballpark would have brook trout. So like Lyle said, it's not so much always going far. That is a big thing, but it's more so understanding where to look and without like going too much into detail, because it's the park and we try to keep things quiet. There is a lot of great online resources to use, like Jeff's maps, out of this world. I don't know if you guys have ever met Jeff, awesome guy. And his maps are probably, I would say, at least 90% or higher accuracy for what fish are in what lakes. And he's going to have species that are people want to target: trout, walleye, pike, bass, that kind of stuff. And then Fish Online is also a cross reference. So Fish Online is probably more inaccurate because they take a lot of historical stuff in the park. But if you can look between the two and then also do a lot of Googling, there's a lot of old forums when the internet was just a new thing and people blabbed a little too much on it. You can find some tidbits here and there in those, but just lots of research and time on the ground does help you ultimately figure out how a lake is. And even if you don't catch fish, it doesn't mean there's not fish. Because trout are just that way, right?
Timing can be very difficult to kind of nail down just because it depends on when the ice melts, right? As to when everything kind of starts happening. So you kind of just hope for the best, I guess, when you're booking your days 6 months in advance at the park website, right?
Yeah. That's quite a system.
When you're looking for a good back lake, what are some key things that you're looking for yourself so that, you don't waste all this time going to a lake? Like you've got some things figured out. So what are some things that you're like, I want these criteria to fit? Let's get, let's say 3 criteria of what you're looking for a back lake.
Well, there's a few things that you can't find yourself if you were a scientist, maybe. One would be oxygen. So you need good oxygen for trout. A lot of lakes in the park can be very shallow, and in the summertime, there's big kill-offs, or in the wintertime because of oxygen. And with oxygen also, it kind of goes hand in hand with inflowing water. So a good system coming through it that has trout either above or below is a good indicator. And yeah, nice clear water, generally headwater lakes. They have springs. Trout have very specific spawning parameters. Brook trout need to spawn directly on a spring, like they spawn into a underwater upwelling and into gravel. And then their eggs incubate over the winter, and then they hatch sometime through the winter, and the little fry come out. So they're a very sensitive, almost like you said, an indicator species to good systems. So try and get somewhere clean.
Yeah, I think it's part, you are going to have to put some boots on the ground. Like you're not going to pull into an access lake and go catch a 4-pound brook trout. I mean, you could, but it likely won't happen.
I saw one kid do it in Opiongo at one time.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen, maybe. But it's looking for these areas that are like, okay, this is less traveled. Like I can access the park here, and it's like an old unmaintained road that's not technically like a park access, but I can park at the park line and portage in, or this portage is 2K and it's uphill and nobody ever does it. Okay, well, it might be one portage, but nobody ever does it. So get to these areas that are just a little bit kind of tough and it's like makes you sweat a little bit. Generally, the fishing's pretty good.
Just make Andrew carry the canoe.
Yeah, I become the pack mule for most of our outings, it seems.
But I got to film him carrying the canoe. I can't carry it.
Good excuse.
So when you're going backcountry, then let's talk about some gear, because I know, speaking of carrying things, the canoe is a big thing that has to come with you to go fishing out on the lakes, right? But the canoe is obviously, you don't want to be carrying some thick old Coleman on your shoulders for a portage, but weight's a factor. I've done it. It wasn't fun. Weight's a factor. So what do you choose to bring, like, for, let's say, your food and then also your fishing gear? And I know we don't have to get into yet, but we also know you bring in camera gear and recording gear because you're posting about it. But let's go for the person who doesn't have to do that side of things. If they have to bring in their gear and their food, how do you help keep things light and, maneuverable in the bush?
It's funny you say the old Coleman canoes, because one of the first trips we did, we lugged in, I had an old green, plastic 3-seater, 18-foot one, 10K we took it. Oh, it was terrible.
80-pound canoe.
Yeah, canoe carted in. Oh, it sucked. But yeah, you need to basically cut weight as best you can. Like, we kind of have a Cadillac canoe that was $5,000 or something. It was just crazy money that you can spend on them. But I think it's 45 pounds?
42
pounds. So you could portage that sucker pretty easy. And then we split things up in a way, we have a system. And when guys go to a portage, a lot of times they're not prepared, right? They bring big old Coleman coolers and they got their full size tackle box. It's okay, no. You bring in 15 lures of everything that you need for a few days. You're not gonna lose 20 lures. And if you do, look at the sunset. Fishing must not be that good, right? So we have it down to a science where it's Brennan will take the canoe most 8 times out of 10 with the food. Now, food is a big one. We dehydrate, or Brennan does, or we'll buy dehydrated stuff. And then all of our camping, our tent and sleeping pad and all the other stuff, camera gear, is me. So we have Kevin Callan makes these portaging packs. They're 120 liters. I forget the exact name of them, but they're awesome packs. We actually both have one now. They hold a lot. They're decently comfortable. I mean, you can only be so comfortable when you have 80 pounds of gear and you're going over a kilometer, but they do the job. They're nice and big, so it's only one pack.
I know when I was younger, I used to go with my dad backcountry and stuff like that. And we would actually, prep. My dad obviously carried most of the stuff because I was a little kid, but I had a canoe. I carried the canoe because it was, I had a nice little golden glass Swift Algonquin canoe that I loved. So that's the one that I bought and I carried it. It was I think it's 60 pounds, I think. And my dad would carry almost everything else. But later on, we got older and stuff like that. So Dad would carry, let's say, all of our clothes and all that stuff and the food. And we would have, I'd carry the tent in a sleeping bag or something, right? It was more helpful instead of everyone kind of bringing their own singular pack of stuff sometimes. If you're going with each other, do you find it easier to just, hey, I'll take everyone's food, I'll take all the clothes or whatever and share it that way too?
Oh yeah, we'll pack the day or two before, put everything that's joint. Our fishing stuff at this point, it's joint. When we're going trout fishing, it's all in one box. So we put everything basically together. All of our food is here. The canoe, Brennan's basically done. Everything else is in the other pack. And then get in there as fast as you can, basically.
So you guys get along better than Jesse and I, because we will never share a tackle box.
Andrew snags too many trees. I can't risk it, man. That's an expensive
And Jesse uses
trip.
2 light of pound tests, so he snaps them off on hook sets.
It's because I catch giants. I try to anyway.
We saw a group of lads last year on our bigger spring trip coming out of this lake. It was a 3-kilometer portage, and I swear those guys had everything but the kitchen sink. They brought in water jugs, 80-liter water jugs in with them because they didn't know about purifying water, I guess. So
Yeah, you can just purify it when you're there. There's little things to do that with.
yeah, and they're like, oh, this is really hard, and we're going with everything in one go, and it's not too bad. And they're going, go 100 meters, drop the stuff, come back, get the next load, and yeah, you definitely got to pack light. It took us a while. It took us several years to get it down. I think the last 2 we've really had it down to a science. And with the food, the dehydrated stuff, that makes a huge difference on long trips. Shorter trips, you can get away with a little more, but normally we'll do a steak or something good on the first night because it's our big travel day. So we'll eat like kings that night, and then the rest of the stuff's dehydrated. But I'm really excited. We got some Camp Kitch dehydrated meals this year. I don't know if you've heard of their products now, but yeah, we're really looking forward to them. They've been staring at me here for the last few weeks waiting for spring, so I'm looking forward to some good food in the bush.
You've been tempted to crack into them before you even got out there, haven't you?
It's so true, though. Like, we've done a lot of camping over the last few decades, but the last 10 years, I've been going not full out backcountry, but just paddle-in stuff with some of my friends that don't camp at all. So I'm like, okay, we're not doing a portage. We'll do a paddle-in in Algonquin. And some of the guys I go with, they bring so much random crap with them. Like one of my friends, Kevin, just to call him out, he had a whole tote full of random ropes. I was like, dude, you need maybe one rope. You don't need a whole tote of ropes. And he's like, well, what if we need to do this or that? I'm like, that will never happen. Dude, I have some rope. You need some rope. You don't need a whole tote. So yeah, it definitely, especially if you're just getting into it, it's very tempting to bring a lot of stuff that you generally probably will never use. It's just just in case. It's like, yeah, well, we don't need that. So yeah.
Yeah. After you go a few times, you figure out that every little thing has its job. Every time, right? It's a consistent. So you're not bringing extra ropes. You're like, hey, I need one rope to hang this tarp, one for this tarp, and they come with the little ropes, and everything is accounted for. Where we were the same way when we started. It just takes experience and practice, like anything else.
Hang your food, hang a ridgeline for a tarp. Yeah. That's about all you
maybe
need, right? Or
yeah. And if you need extra rope, you can always braid Andrew's back hair and make your own.
I'll shave my beard in emergencies. This is a survival tool.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting. So what's with you changing or not changing, but honing your skills in the prep work and stuff, what's something that you still 100% this has to come with me? And what's something where you just stopped bringing altogether because it was useless or not necessary?
I think number one is a good net for trout. If you're going to take anything that's going to be bulky and weigh a few extra pounds, bring a good net. They're kind of a protected species to an extent, similar to a muskie where you want to handle them good, right? It's take care of the fish and then they'll take care of generations of people coming and catching them. I guess one thing that it's you don't really need it. Some of our first trips, we would bring 6 or 8 flashlights. It's you need maybe one. You have a fire, and you have your phone. So you don't need all these extra flashlights. As far as I'm concerned, leave them at home. Maybe bring one, but you don't need, Brennan and I both don't need one.
You don't need your 4D battery mag lights.
We also used to bring in, when we first started, a hatchet, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody going in the backcountry. It's really not necessary. It's more danger than it is worth it, I think, because a hatchet is just an accident waiting to happen in the backcountry, and it cuts a lot of weight too. If you really want to split wood, get one of those nice solid blade knives.
Bowie knives? I've got one finally.
And hammer it with a piece of wood, because a hatchet, you're just going to cut your foot or cut your shin, or saw is the only way to go, I think, in the backcountry.
My wife bought last year for my anniversary one of those Agawa folding buck saw, 21 inch, I think. My buddy had one. I used it, and you could cut through trees so fast. Pretty big branches, right? So I bought one too, and the thing's amazing. Yeah, I don't bring a hatchet or an axe, anything like that anymore. I'm not going to be splitting huge trees and stuff like that. I'm just going to be cutting some pretty thick branches and stuff. And those saws, they cut so good. It's
we have butter. We have the Agua Boreal 21, and it's pretty good. Yeah. And then we got one from Bear Essential Outdoors too, and it's a sweet saw. DJ from Bear Essentials, he made them for years, and yeah, sick.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah,
those look sick. Too. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's a great tip though. Forget the hatchet, because if you've ever used a hatchet, how many times have you been like, wow, I almost cut my thumb off or my foot? You can't just call 911 and an ambulance will come and pick you up. You're literally 4 days into the bush, so you're basically dead.
One thing I got this year for solo trips is a Garmin InReach. Lyle bought a Zoleo a couple years ago, but I just got an InReach because I'm planning to do a few more solo bigger trips this year.
Nice.
And just peace of mind for everyone at home and for myself, because you never know. You don't think you need it until you do need something like that, and then you're so happy you have it. So yeah, definitely satellite messengers or something. That's a big one you should have if you're going into the backcountry. I know a lot of new phones nowadays use text to satellite, but I tried it last year and it was somewhat reliable, but I think these things are going to be a lot better. So
that's a good tip. Good and great for safety, obviously. So what about fishing now? After all, this is the Fishing Loons podcast where we talk about eagles and camping. So when you're fishing, and again, we're talking specifically about spring trout. I know you guys have done other species and stuff in the past as well. But for spring trout, we know they come shallow in the spring. They're shallow. It's cold water everywhere, so they have their ideal temperature right up where they're accessible, which is why we go for them in the spring. So how do you like to fish for them, knowing that? And what are your traditional lures that you always bring with you?
Spring fishing is definitely the bomb of the year. Like that is the key time to be out there. Like you said, ideal water temps for speckles are between 45 and 60 Fahrenheit, or whatever it is, 11 to 16 Celsius. That's the range where they thrive. And when the ice first comes off, the whole lake is uniformly like 2 degrees. It's just above freezing. And actually in that first week, a lot of times people will fish too shallow for brook trout. So that immediate first week after ice out, a lot of times they'll be suspended out at the first drop. So where the lake, say it goes kind of subtly down to 10 feet and then it has a sheer drop, they'll be suspended maybe 3 feet under the surface out at these drops until the sun actually starts to warm up the shallows. So it takes a week or two for those shallow waters to raise a couple degrees. And when it might only be 2 degrees or 1 degree difference, but that can make the world of difference for where the fish are actively feeding, because that's where the bait is. They relate to warmth a lot in the spring.
That's good to know. What kind of lures do you use then?
When we're fishing in the spring, Brendan's always trolling and I'll generally cast. We always seem to throw the same 3 or 4 lures, and it's really spoons, right? And it's just variations of spoons. Now, we kind of tagged along with Williams a couple years ago, but the 3 spoons that work really well are Williams, funny enough, right? And it's the W30, which is about their 1-inch spoon size, a Ridgeback, and a Nipigon spoon. Like those 3, if you got them in your tackle box, you're going to catch fish.
Williams Wobbler is probably my favorite multi-species spoon of all time.
Catch everything.
I love that. Yeah, huge confidence bait. So if you had to choose one then, what would be the one that you would bring?
I say copper W30 wobbler, number 1.
Add that to my shopping list.
Yeah.
Times 10.
I had the same lure in gold as my number 1 written down in the notes as well. So I guess that's a telltale sign. They've been around for over 100 years, right? Like there's a reason that the company is so old. And yeah, just wicked baits. And then the springtime spoons are good all year, but springtime they're fire.
And for anyone, listening and wondering like, oh, why aren't these guys using minnows? They'd catch so much more fish. Well, part of the rules in Algonquin Park is you're not allowed live bait. You wouldn't be able to use minnows as bait. I think you can bring worms.
Yeah. So the rule is no live bait fish. So you can have dead minnows, you can have preserved minnows, and you can have worm. But there is a handful of lakes, probably a half a dozen lakes in the park that are no organic baits. So they're special reg lakes. So you definitely have to keep an eye on the regulations and look for those specific regs in the zone 15 info there.
So that's good to know, actually. So then you have your dream lure. Do you normally cast or troll, or do you do a mix of both?
Well, Brendan will always be generally in the back of the canoe trolling, and I'll be casting. And it's really important that you watch the lake. It's telling you stuff about every hour. It's going to tell you something. And maybe you guys have seen the video. There was a mayfly hatch, and in the middle of the lake, right out in 50 to 60 feet of water, like God only knows how deep it was, every trout in the lake surfacing. And we paddled out, we did catch the odd one that morning, trolling the shore as we normally do and casting and such. But when the hatch started, it was lights out, casting in the middle of the lake with little Williams spoons.
That's awesome. So would you say then, because this is kind of one of those things, people say, oh, the harder it is to get there, fishing's better. The fishing's better. Always, always, always. And to some extent, yes, you're fishing pressured water. You're used to fishing, I'm going to go for trout in some of the tributaries or something down here during a steelhead run or something. Like, oh, it can be tough. We're trying to get those like random browns that come up the creek. It's like, they can be hard to find. So are trout in the backcountry, when they're hard to access, is it easier to catch? Are they dumber? What's your opinion? Is it just they haven't seen stuff, or they're just really hungry because there's no food in the wilderness?
I don't think they're easier or dumber. I think trout are they're a very elusive species. Like they're very finicky. Like one day you could catch 100 in a lake, the next day you could get none. So they're still quite smart. Like they outsmart us a lot, to put it simple. Like what you guys see on YouTube is 1/3 of our trips because the rest suck. But we know the lakes do have fish. right? So, and it's not so much how far you go. There is some very good spots that are close. Just putting in the time to find those spots and figure that out specifically. But rule of thumb, I would say, is that the further you go, the better it is. Like the less pressure they see, the better. But then lakes can vary too. You could have a lake in the middle of nowhere that it checks all the boxes, but there's no bait in it, right? Or there's too many fish, so you have a bunch of tiny fish. Like you could go to a lake and they're all 8 inches long because there's just so many. There's so much spawning area that it's overpopulated and the fish don't grow. Whereas you get into a lake that has lower numbers and it's going to be bigger fish because those fish have a lot to eat and a lot of room to live, right? So further is better, but there's some good stuff close to if you sniff around enough and know where to find it.
Well, I'm going to have AI run through your videos and tell me which lakes they are.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. I don't think that evil technology exists yet, thankfully.
So there is, like you're mentioning, though, you can go a long way, get skunked, right? We've all experienced that. Any fisherman who has gone fishing for more than, one day in his life, and quite possibly him as well, you've been skunked. Like it's not a fun feeling. But when you put in backcountry, like it's a lot different than just, I took the boat out on the weekend, I didn't catch anything, went back to the cottage and just drank a few beers. Like that's still a relaxing day. It can almost feel, when you always get home, you always think, yeah, it was still worth it. But there's sometimes you got to feel, was it worth it? Like what are some of the bad experiences that you've had there or things you've had to overcome on some of these trips?
I got one that comes to mind right away. Our first spring trip we did for YouTube, we were skunked for 3 days in a row, and it had poured rain pretty well off and on for 3 days. And we were on a big fish lake. So the first day we portaged and caught some trout for dinner because we were like, okay, we have to ration our meals and get through the next few days, and skunked for 3 days in a row. So if that puts it to any perspective for you, even though you're 40, 50 kilometers into the bush, you're still skunked. But for scares and stuff, we ran into a few bears and stuff. Never really had any like bad encounters. They've always ran away, but it's always unnerving when you see them and they kind of jump you as much as you jump them.
I've seen a couple in the park. And once when I was a little kid, and yeah, my dad was, still taking down the tent and folding it nicely and just throwing rocks at the bear, which you shouldn't do. Yeah, we're in their country at that point, so you just gotta remain calm, right?
One time I saw a bear right near my campsite, but then when I turned on my flashlight, I realized there's just Andrew going to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
I have one trip in mind. I was eyeing up this lake that years ago my older brother had caught speckles in the creek coming out of it, just little ones. And so I was telling Lyle, I'm like, this lake has trout. Like, let's go up to it. And it was like a 2-kilometer bushwhack with this old Coleman, the same Coleman canoe, the heavy one. We dragged it about 2 kilometers up a dry creek in June and got to this lake, and the whole thing was 5 feet or less deep. It was just an overglorified beaver pond. On the aerial maps, Lyle was like, it looked shallow. And I'm like, no, I think that's ice melting off. It was a spring photo, right? But it turned out to be clumps of mud and stuff. So yeah, that was a long trip, a long drag for nothing.
Did you get to say, I told you so?
Oh, yeah.
I know not to go back to that lake.
Well, I guess that's part of the adventure, right? Because when it comes to backcountry or fishing just in general, like you look at the map and there's so many lakes and you just have to sometimes take a chance. Sometimes it turns out, sometimes it's crap, right? But sometimes you find that lake that's magical and maybe no one else fishes it or is very rarely fished. And sometimes you find a beaver pond that absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
But I do like how even when you ask a question like that to people who have done camping like yourselves, you're like, what was the worst experience? The first thing that happens is a big smile comes across your face because you're like, I get to tell a story now. And in the moment, you're kicking yourself for being there and in that situation, and it sucks. But like you were saying before, like there's the fishing, but then there's the stories you get out of the adventure. And as much as terrible as it is, sometimes they make the best stories at the end.
They do, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Best memories.
Have you had any like close calls or dangerous situations that you have kind of learned from?
I don't think we've had any real close, like life or death calls. Like we've had a few times where you get into some pretty big waves and you have water coming over the gunnels and stuff, but nothing too crazy. I think we're pretty conservative with how safe we are in the backcountry. Yeah, nothing that comes to mind. Do you have anything, Lyle?
No, I think you hit it nail on the head there. Basically, like the odd time the waves are good or you get into some nasty current in a river, it kind of sweeps you one way and you kind of lose your balance for a second. But, situations that could have been bad, right? And I think maybe that's a better way to reword that. We haven't had, any life or death situations, but situations that could have been bad for sure.
We've had a few of those.
Yeah. It's part of the risk, but at the same time, it's doing dangerous things carefully. we do our best to mitigate what we can, right?
It's like usually on the way in, it's nice. And then always when we're portaging back out, especially we cross like a big lake, it's just like the wind's blowing towards us and huge white caps. And it's just like every single time it's like sketchy on the way back.
Well, always a headwind either way.
You can't have it easy.
Always get a headwind.
I guess, Brennan, we should maybe bring up, we were in that tornado last year.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one that took out Samuel de Champlain Park.
We've been safe the whole time. No issues.
The tornado that took out Samuel de Champlain?
Yep.
Oh, I had reservations there and they canceled it because the whole park got decimated.
You bet. We were on the south end of that tornado or whatever, big storm.
Man.
It was bad. I saw pictures of it and legit, they had to close the campground down. All the trees were down and what'd you guys do? Hide under your canoe?
Well, when you're back in the backcountry, right, there's no way of knowing how bad it is. So it was like, it's just another storm. And actually, my dad and his buddy were with us. And we're like, well, just go to bed early and get up the next day. And so we did, right? Wind was terrible. Rain was terrible. Like, nothing you'd ever seen before. Get up and fish the next day. But you don't know how bad it was until we left. And then you go, wow, like, every tree is down. Like there's nothing left at the south end of the one lake. It's like, whew, we missed it by that much,
That could have been bad. Wow.
You just close your eyes and hope for the best.
Yeah. That's the best way to handle sometimes.
Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Yeah. I think it was last spring early, we were doing an early pike trip, me and some friends, and it was a hailstorm in the May 2-4 weekend. And I'm talking like hail, like the size of your fingertip, not like golf balls, nothing. But when you're out there and me and Norm, my buddy, we're out there holding the tarp above the kitchen tent because it's just being ripped out of the ground. And the girls are inside the tent and we're just trying to, hold it. And we're just getting soaked, drenched. Hail's pelting us. We're like, this is terrible. But even then, like we were fishing that morning and we thought, it's getting a little cloudy. We'll come back. And it wasn't like backcountry. We did have like minor signal, but it did not have a storm of that, that size coming through. And it just shows like you may have something, even if you look ahead and plan for, a 3-day trip in, you're like, oh, there's a storm coming, but it's small. It's like, who knows what's going to happen in the next few hours that it's going to get worse or something. And you don't have signal to see what the weather's going to be. That is a huge challenge. Absolutely. So let's some of the bad moments then. What was some of your best moments that you've had in the backcountry?
I think that trip Lyle mentioned earlier where the trout were surfacing everywhere was just a kind of an out of this world, like best of the best experience, right? Like the lake was boiling with trout. That was something different to see. And then last year we had one really good trip. We went far, worked hard to get in there a couple days, and I didn't catch one. Lyle caught 3 absolute slot off of our campsite. We fished around that lake for 2 days. We couldn't catch anything in the lake, and we got all the fish from the site using the Wayne rig. So this is a name I coined for a rig my dad used for years growing up, and it works really well for trout. And that rig actually uses either worms or dead minnows is what we'll use on it. But yeah, Lyle caught 3 mammoth fish, and I lost one. I remember the one that snapped me off, Lyle, and it was out. It jumped in the lake. It jumped in the lake like 30 yards past where it broke me off, and just a huge trout. And I'm like, like we took 2 days to get in here, and I screwed it up. I screwed up my chance. Like, no.
That fish did that on purpose.
Oh yeah, he's showing up. Look at my hook.
Yeah. I've seen some of the fish that, I don't know if it was the same trip you're talking about, but on one of your YouTube videos, it's just like a giant, just colored up, beautiful male brook trout. I'm like, that's the kind of fish that legit you see on the cover of fishing magazines. Like it's something so crazy. One day I hope to catch something that beautiful. It's probably, I'd say, Ontario's most beautiful fish. 100%, I'd say.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sure. It must be amazing just holding a fish like that in the water just briefly and letting it go. Or frying it up, whatever. We don't judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
What's something that, because one of the things that I love going to the park for, and there's beautiful hikes and stuff like that, like Barron Canyon is absolutely gorgeous for someone who hasn't been. I recommend it. It's an amazing hike, amazing views. I'd love to actually paddle down the river, but has there been any like gems that you have found? And again, you don't have to like perhaps say the lake that you went to if you don't want to, but could you describe like the scenery of something that just was beautiful, that kind of made the trip even though it wasn't necessarily fishing?
I would say one of the best trips we had, Brendan, would have been with the paddleheads. That lake that we had went to was super high elevation. Well, one, it was very hard to get to. A super high elevation, basically virgin pines, crystal clear water. You could see 20 feet down. Beautiful lake. You could almost drink right from the lake and not even filter it. It was looked so good, right? Certain lakes now you get the zebra mussels and like algae on the rocks and all this kind of stuff that accumulates over time. But in there's none of that. There's nothing. It's all pristine, right? And it's just, wow, this is awesome.
I have a memory from when I was working in the park in high school, and I went into Burnt Island Lake a couple times, maintaining campsites and portage trails. And we were there in August during the Perseides meteor shower. And I remember it was late at night and I stayed up. All the other lads went to bed that I was working with. And I went down to the end of the campsite and I was laying on this big rock running into the lake, looking up and like just shooting stars, because the sky is unreal in the park, right? There's no light pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So and the shooting stars going by and like you feel like tiny little speck, but it's just, those are the kind of moments that stick with you. That, and like you were saying, the cliffs and stuff, those are beautiful too. Eustache Lake, Greenleaf Lake, those have huge cliffs. There's a lot of lakes in the park that have big rock faces, and it's cool if you can see them from the water and from above Lake Barron Canyon.
And it's true, the night sky is always something that, no matter how many times you see it, when you're up in the park and there's no light pollution, it is absolutely gorgeous and breathtaking in the evening. If you can get there in the spring when there's no bugs out, that's for sure. Get carried away by a cloud of mosquitoes if it's July. So with this, we talk about the fishing and stuff, but you guys, we kind of mentioned it before, you have the additional challenge besides of just getting backcountry, getting to your site, bringing all your gear. You have the camera gear. Because you guys film these trips, and even if it's a rotten trip or a really bad portage, you're still there filming it, whether or not you post it. So what are some of the, the challenges or things that you have had to combat with in order to get these videos and post them? Because they're fantastic. I love to watch them. They're great. So what are some things that you've had to overcome, things that you do to get these awesome videos?
I think a big one is what we were talking about earlier, is just cutting weight. You're not doing that with camera gear, right? So we'll bring battery packs that are kind of, size of, like whatever, this big.
Cinder blocks.
Yeah, the size of a brick, I guess. And, you might have 4, 5, 6 of them per, like, okay, one of them will do 2 GoPros for like 2 days, which is kind of roughly what we have them budgeted out to. So it's like, okay, how much do we need to recharge based off that amount? And, okay, well, we need 10 of them. Well, that's 10, 12, 15 extra pounds just in batteries. So it's a lot. And like if we go for a week, like our trip this year in May is 8 days, like we're going to have 20 pounds of batteries. It's a lot.
Absolutely. How do you film the stuff? Like I know we've seen, or I'm sure a lot of our listeners have seen like Survivor Man, when he would film himself going there and he'd have to put a camera up, walk like a kilometer and then come back and hike up the mountain to grab his camera again. Like all this crazy stuff this guy did. Do you guys do, shots similar to that kind of thing as well?
We don't do as much of that as we should this year. We're changing it up a bit, and we're going to be trying to show a bit more of the adventure. We've been hesitant with what to show in the park because of how close it is in proximity to so many people and how accessible it really is for the people that want to get in there. So we haven't shown as much as we'd like to for that reason. It's more for a preservation reason, right? But we have a few trips in mind this year where we want to do, like you said, place the camera and you go paddle half a kilometer out in the lake. Then you got to turn around and come get it. We don't do too much of that. We're pretty good we're a fishing show, but we're going to try and do a little bit more of the adventure side of things, because I think that pertains to a bigger audience, right? People like the adventure. And like I was saying earlier, you kind of had me thinking about it. Like I like both. I like the fishing and the adventures. So got to find that happy medium, but batteries are awful to bring in. Cameras are not too bad. You can get away with GoPros on certain trips and your phone. A lot of them now we bring our DSLRs and tripods. So that adds just another layer of a few pounds, right?
And fragile too.
Yeah.
I always think it's bad because when me and Andrew go and if we're filming something, we'll have like a big, DeWalt box full of batteries and drones and cameras and stuff, but we're putting it in a boat. So it's like, okay, it's annoying, it's big, but it's legit in a boat. I'm not carrying this stuff. But when you go backcountry, we did a backcountry trip with paddleheads probably 2 years ago at a walleye lake. And we had to pack in, because we don't generally do like adventure videos like you guys do, which I'm jealous of because it looks super fun. But bringing in just the amount of camera gear that we brought in, it was just like, oh man, it adds a lot of weight. We need to invent some like crazy, like super fast charging solar panels because the solar panels suck.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to get one of those big Amazon drones that carries our stuff for us. And then just like go to this site. Just like takes
You can't.
off.
Drones are banned in Algonquin Park. You're not allowed to bring them in.
Make a stealth one, okay? The technology exists, people.
So let you guys know when you're watching these guys' videos, just know the pain and the effort that it took to just bring the batteries and camera gear to the site to film. So have some appreciation. Give them a big thumbs up, subscribe, just for that reason alone. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Believe me.
That's right.
So if we're now going to boil things down to some of our listeners then as kind of the basics that they should know, if they've never done it or they're inexperienced, what would you say are three of the best tips you could provide for someone who wants to go interior camping and specifically like fishing interior camping?
Get away from bass and pike.
Yeah.
Any predator species. That's number one. Don't fish the lakes on the side of Highway 60 and expect to catch a lot or any natural trout. Bass are a huge invasive species in the park, right? And anywhere that they are, they don't jive well with brook trout. Lake trout are okay with bass, but brook trout, area that they live in the lake overlaps too much. So they overcompete for the same species. And that's on another note. If you're looking at a lake and trying to break it down, if you see a spot that you think I would catch a smallmouth bass there, that's a spot to throw a lure for a brook trout. So 2 tips in one. That's my one. Your turn, Lyle.
Yeah.
Throw a hula popper.
Just kidding. For me, it's always been about just being comfortable and sleeping well in the bush. A nice, comfortable sleeping pad, like the ones we have now, they're 3 or 4 inches thick, little air mattresses, and that is huge. Huge. If you're sleeping good, you're going to have a good attitude and have a good time.
The older you get too, the more you will appreciate that. When I was in my early 20s, I could sleep on the ground and use a rock as a pillow. But now that I'm 35, which isn't even that old compared to some people, if you have a bad night's rest, you are chotched for the rest of the trip. Oh my goodness.
I just throw my back out sleeping on my mattress at home sometimes. Like, I need to be comfortable.
Andrew's an old man. That's a great tip, though. You guys sleep in tents, not hammocks?
So we just got the hammock Drommer, the lay flat hammocks. We just got them this year.
Nice.
So you will see that probably by June, That video will be out, Brendan, from May. So we're testing them out. We did the hammock stuff, like the old school hammocks, right at the start, and I hated them. Your back would get cold and you'd never get a great sleep. Switched to the tent stuff, no problem. Slept like a baby. Snuggled with Brendan all night. It was great.
He's lonely without me.
Do any of you guys snore?
I guess I do a little bit.
Oh, Andrew snores. I cannot sleep in a tent with Andrew anymore.
I bring him earplugs whenever we have to sleep near each other.
I actually have kind of the opposite. I actually sleep, me and Andrew both do hammocks. And I actually just got 12-foot XXL hammock. I forget what brand. And it's my second hammock now. And I have like the under quilt and everything like that. I find them very comfortable, but I do find that people either love them or they hate them. So you really have to try for yourself and maybe figure that out before you go backcountry camping. Maybe set it up in your backyard and sleep or have a nap in it and see how it works. Because I have a few friends too, and they hate the whole idea of a hammock. They're trying to get in it and they're like, this is so uncomfortable. And then, I do like it in the rain though, because I don't have to worry about flooding, right? But
when I do get situated, I feel like a mummy and I just fall asleep and just like, it's perfect. But if you can't get situated properly, or like you said, if you don't have enough padding underneath of you to block that cold temperatures, it's a rough night's sleep to just feel the cold coldness on your kidneys all night long.
I will say though, being in a tent, you feel slightly safer. When
Yeah.
you're in a hammock and you're hanging there, you just feel like a hanging sack of food for a bear. And if there's like something, one time I had a raccoon or something come like right underneath my hammock, and I was like freaking out because I didn't know what it was. But when you're in a tent, even though like it's just a thin piece of fabric, you kind of have that separation safety. You're like, oh, I'm safe in here. It's fine. But when you're in a hammock, it's just like, it feels like you're just like suspending in air and something could just reach out and just kill you. So yeah, maybe if you have like, that kind of problem where you might freak out, do that. Yeah. Also wear earplugs because then you can't hear the killers coming.
That's right.
So what's something that people, would you say, would overthink?
I think like the difficulty of portaging. I don't think it's as difficult as people think. It's more ties into what we were saying earlier with packing properly. Portage is it's a walk in the park. It's a walk in the park. So if you see a 2-kilometer portage, think you could pay a lot of money to go to a gym and get that workout, or you could do it and have nice trout at the end of the portage. It's all a head game. Push yourself and you'll be surprised.
And you can have some good buns and thighs afterwards.
Oh yeah.
and good preparation on what gear to bring. No cast iron pans in the backcountry.
No, man.
And what's something that you would say people underestimate when it comes to camping?
Underestimating maybe how challenging it could be to catch a trout at times. You're not going to go to every single lake and catch 100. It's not that simple. I mean, you might go to one and catch quite a few, but not every single lake is either A, going to have trout, and B, have a big enough, healthy enough population for you to get as many as you're hoping to. Like a lot of the lakes in the park, that healthy adult population of trout is not as much as people think it is. It's, 50 to 100 per lake, depending on the size of adult trout. If you go in and take 5 and the next guy goes in and takes 5, you're dwindling that population. And by the time you go in there, it might not be anything big even left. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I know that we talked before in the podcast, like small bodies of water, like you say, it's a big park, but if you're fishing a small body of water, the population, even in, a creek or a river, some fish will live their entire life in that one bend if it has everything they need for it. And you could just decimate the population in that section and it will start hurting that ecosystem from there and downstream potentially. So yeah, that's a good point. These backcountry lakes, they're oftentimes small.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are literally ponds you can skip a stone across. Like there are some pretty small lakes there, but being conscious of that is fantastic to be able to have it be a good fishery for years to come still. So need to ask now, the big questions for you is, we've talked a lot about, your expertise and stuff in this, but I know people are listening to this and getting mad at me for not asking a question they wanted asked or blah, blah, blah. And if that's the case, how do people watch your show? Where do they find you? And how can they get in contact with you if they want to, or if you want them to?
Well, you can find us on YouTube. That's our mainstay, is YouTube long form videos. We don't do a lot of shorts. We like to tell the story a little longer. And then if you want to reach out, Instagram, Facebook, or email, all that information is in our bios within the different platforms. So yeah, that's where you can find us. The Average Joe's Fishing Show. We do a little bit of TikTok. Not too much because, again, not big on the shorts. But it seems like that's the way the world's going, so we might have to hop on the shorts train soon.
Attention spans are very low these days, so.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, I find shorts though are good because it gives you a little thing to whet your appetite, and then it takes you up to the main video and you can sit down, crack open a cold one and watch a whole video, and then plan your own trip to do some backcountry trout fishing in Algonquin. That is something that we got to do that, Andrew. Like right now.
You know what's really relaxing actually is, and if our listeners haven't done this, wake up early, not too early, but let's say you wake up, decent time on a weekend, and then you make yourself a nice coffee, you go to the TV, you bring up YouTube, and you watch like a nice backcountry camping video in the morning, and you just kind of put yourself there. Even if you're stuck in the city, that'll help put that day on the right track for you. That's sometimes I like to just imagine myself as being somewhere else, and you can live vicariously through these guys.
That's just the way Andrew ignores his wife.
She's still sleeping in most mornings. So what, do you have any upcoming trips that you're excited for this year?
Well, we have a few trips and actually, I guess, a new series. We should maybe touch on that if we're allowed to. It's called Brookies or Bust, and where we basically just pick a random lake, bushwhack, portage, whatever the case may be, get in there, fish it, and see if it's got trout or not. I guess this year we have a pretty big trip planned and starting to film for season 2.
That's amazing. Amazing that you guys are like having seasons. I have a hard time just filming one video. Good job, guys. I don't think people understand how much work is involved in making content, like say a podcast, but like videos is way more intensive. So props to you guys. Me and Andrew's videos are more like us not catching fish and being like, well, it almost happened. Man. Yeah. So this podcast is coming out in early May. And I know a lot of trout fishing happens in May and early June. So we're excited for that. If you guys are listening to this and want to check out their videos again, I'm going to link everything below. I'll link their YouTube. I'll link their Instagram. So you can just go down, click the link. It'll take you right to their YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, watch their videos, give them a big thumbs up. Maybe, a thumbs up and subscribe. Be nice because, again, they put in the work. You guys are like the classic Ontario content creators that make quality content. People are starved for good entertainment and good quality stuff that's not just, sponsored trash. So 100% I recommend your guys' channel. Definitely check it out.
So last question for you then is, if someone's on the fence of doing backcountry or a spring trout camping trip, what would you tell them?
Do it while you can, because it's only going to get harder the older you get. It's true. So, get in there while you can and enjoy it while it's here. And hopefully it's here for many years to come. Keep a conservative mindset when you're handling fish. Only keep what you're going to eat. Don't pig out. We've learned that over the years. Just keep the ones that are hooked bad. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a snack. But most people can't eat 5 brook trout in a day. So keep that in mind. Keep the fishing good for years to come for everybody. And enjoy it and get out there, because it's a place to be. There's so much to see.
Do you have anything you'd add to that, Lyle?
Yeah, I just think it doesn't matter who you are or what your capabilities are. If you can get out, even on a access lake, and just paddle down or even boat in, fish Opiongo, right? Like it could be a spot to be. There's so many beaches there. It's so nice. Just get out for a weekend. If you can do it, do it. And it's, like Brendan said, it's the place to be.
And I would tell someone, if you see me, get away. It's my lake. So thanks a lot for joining us on the podcast. Been awesome to have you guys on. It's given me the itch again to put up with the pain of sitting in a canoe with no backrest and paddling in using my actual muscles instead of my boat motor. But I now kind of really want to do an interior camping trip, like a portage in. You guys have lit that fire under me again. So that's been good to have you on. Hopefully it'd be cool to make something happen to get out all together, maybe.
For sure.
We really appreciate you guys having us on, and this was a good chat. So yeah, we got to get out. A couple average Joes and average Ontario anglers get out and do a collab, eh?
Collab/tournament. Winners keep the podcast channel.
You can have it. You can have it. Anyway, as I was saying before we hit record, every time we're like, who should we get on the podcast? You guys were recommended all the time. And I apologize that it's taken this long. But for you guys that were hounding me for the last 2 years, you got what you wanted, okay? Hound me about someone else. So thanks again, guys, for coming on. We appreciate it. We know you're busy guys, but you guys are a big part of the Ontario fishing community and ambassadors to the sport. So we really appreciate that. And we hope that the 2026 season for you guys is amazing. I've been telling everyone, 2026 is the year. So catch your PBs.
Yes, thanks for having us on.
Thank you, guys.
And before we close down, we have, first of all, as usual, a bit of housekeeping of thanking everyone who is supporting, our channel and the podcast as a whole by listening to it. Huge thanks as well to all those who are helping out on Patreon as Patreon members. That helps us a lot to cover the costs so that we can continue doing this. There are a lot of, fees. I'm sure that batteries don't come cheap to film content, But if you, again, thanks for listening. If you haven't had the opportunity, go follow them as well. Again, Average Joe Fishing Show. It rhymes, it's good, it's catchy, has the word average in it. It's got to be good. So if you have the opportunity, give them a follow as well. And as tradition states, we now have the quote of the week. And to handle that is Lyle and Brendan.
If it smells like trout, don't get out.